Hi everyone, I'm Ryan, and I am in my garage, but I can't stay here. So it's Saturday, I've got time to get some work done on the bikes. Unfortunately, my wife has had to be called into work, which means my 6-year-old son is in the house, and I can't just lock myself away in the garage. So, to find things that I can do inside the house. So that brings me back to these carbs. I'm going to take them in the house. I'm going to actually split them so I can clean them up in between. Well, you'll see that in a moment. I'm going to check the float heights and get these all buttoned off. So let me go and do that now, and let's see how we get on. Also, that's the current state of Sid the Scrambler. The frame is away being worked on. The rear swinging arm is all out. The engine's dropped. All the bits that I've got that were attached, I've stripped off. So hopefully that won't be away for long, and then we can put them all back on again. Okay, well, I'm set up on my kitchen table with an old pillowcase just to protect the surface. So let's see what we can do. So the insides of this is quite mucky, and whilst I've cleaned up some of it, I couldn't get to the insides because I didn't separate them. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to split them and then give them a better clean up. But before I do that, I'm going to try and check the float heights. So let's whip these off and have a look in the book. Now I've had a quick look and it reckons they should be 15.5 mil. So with a bit of luck and a digital gauge, I should be able to see how they are. Although the diagram in the book shows them as having a round float, which mine, from memory, do not have. So does that mean I need a completely different height, or am I simply misunderstanding the situation? So that's what I've got. So let's try and measure that. Okay, so this is what I have found. And it was an interesting shout, so thanks very much again, subscribers. You know, you people guys that watch this, brilliant. So that's my gauge set to, 15.6. It was 15.5 a second ago. And that float height there, if I can get this to focus, it's difficult to try and do this and show with one hand. That is almost right. If I was being really super critical, I would say it might be just like very slightly up. So that might need some fine adjustment. But when I look at this side, it's nowhere near. It's miles out. Look at the back of that. Absolutely miles out. So that one is definitely nowhere near where it should be. So let me try and work out how to adjust it. Okay, so after adjustment, that is set to 15.5, and the height of that is correct at the front and now at the back of the float. So that's now lying level and about 15.5 mil above this base. So that was miles out. This was about 18 and a half, and I hadn't spotted that. So again, thank you viewers, thanks guys for telling me that I'd missed a step, because I just hadn't done it before. It's not complicated. I now know what to do. I'll now check the other side, although the other side looks about right. Yeah, check that. The height of this float valve was okay. Right, now what I hadn't previously done is I hadn't separated these, because it's easier not to, but it makes getting into here to clean it really quite difficult. And I didn't change the seals that are in this pipe here, this fuel pipe. So I'm going to do that. I've got some time now. Now I have to work inside the house for the day. There's no reason not to. So let's get these split apart, clean up the bits that are difficult to get to, and change those seals over. So yeah, change of direction, but constructive nonetheless. Okay, so I've carefully photographed exactly how these joints are connected and where they are. Now I've got to try and take these supporting bars off, and I'm going to make sure to use my JIS screwdrivers, because I guarantee these have never come off before. So yeah, fingers crossed they behave. Okay, that's the carbs split, and the tube between them is clear, but the rubbers certainly did need replacing. So I've got those to change over now. So I'll switch them over. My son and his friend are here, offering supervision. Do you think I'm doing it right or not?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Right, I'll carry on then. Okay, that's the connection tube cleaned up. That came up all right, just with a bit of Scotch-Brite. So, let's see if I can get into these bits here now and just get a bit of the muck off of that. Okay, so when I look closely, there's a mechanism. It sits on the side of the carb. You engage the choke, there's a cam which pushes up. How's it going now? Sits on there somehow. Bottom line is, when you engage the choke, that advances the tick over slightly, and that is seized. Stop the choke operating fully, and it would prevent the idle from being increased whilst the choke was open. So yeah, I need to free that up, because that, I'm sure, should move and spin freely on that, and it's rock solid. So okay, so that piece now moves freely within that, so I think that can now be reinstated. Okay, I think that's reconstructed correctly. So now when you operate the choke, you can just see the cam there pushes underneath here, which pushes this down and activates, just moves the tick over slightly. That's now opening and closing, I believe, correctly. Okay, let's check everything else up and carry on cleaning. Okay, so I'm beginning the reassembly and clean up, and it's coming up okay. Getting into these deep areas in here and cleaning up is proving somewhat complex, but it's getting there. So I'm going to continue. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do it on the table tonight, so I might have to put a break to this and continue tomorrow, but hopefully it's Mothering Sunday tomorrow, but I'm optimistic I can find a little time just to try and complete this and get it back together. Okay, let's continue with this clean up and rebuild. So that side I think is mostly done, and that side needs a good clean up on the there. So I'll just carry on with the Scotch-Brite and see if I can get into those bits and then try and reassemble it, which is the fiddly bit, because yeah, you need to sort of compress this spring and then get it back in the gap. Yeah, not looking forward to that. Okay, well, they're back together, and I must say reassembly is a pig, but it's done. That's the choke mechanism all working, and throttle. Where is it? There. Oh, come on. Oh, can't operate it one-handed. There we are. And I managed to do it and reconnect that in there without disturbing the setting. So it does tell you not to undo that seal, and I managed to do it, but getting that rod back between the two washers, it's just bloody awkward. Now what I found is I took the fuel pipe out, I took both brackets off, I put that on a bench, and then I just concentrated on using pliers just to separate the two washers, connect them together, and then once they were finally in position, there's actually plenty of space to then reattach the fuel and then put the brackets on. So it wasn't really complicated, but it did take me probably 15-20 attempts. I tried recording it and then I gave up recording and then finally managed to connect it. But it's back together. The question is, do they work? Now the only way I can check that would be to try and fit them onto this. So I think that's the next plan. This is a known running bike. It's been difficult to start recently, but it definitely runs. So I'm going to take those carbs off. I'm going to fit that set there and give them a try. Okay, let's start stripping. Not me, the bike. So it's at this point when I've removed the tank, the side panels, the seat, and I look at it and I remember what's involved in changing the carbs. So in order to get these out, I have to remove this engine mount this side so I can get easy access to the cables. I have to drop the airbox back to give me a bit more wiggle space here. To drop the airbox, which is bolted in at the back here, so I've essentially got to unbolt the rear mudguard, but also the engine box is being held in place by the battery box. So I've got to take the battery out, the battery box out, unbolt the back here, slide the airbox back. That will give me enough space to then take the carbs out from this side. Yeah, there's a reason why I don't do this very often. Right, well, let's just get started. Okay, they're ready to try and lift out now. So yeah, I actually had to also unbolt the grab rails because clearly I've added those since I last did the job. So I took the grab rails off, which dropped the whole rear mudguard, pulled the airbox back, removed the battery. Now I've managed to unclip everything here and the carbs are now free. There's not a lot of space, but they will just about come out in this direction. Then I can take all the cables off. So, interestingly, these carbs are not identical. I think in every way they matters, they're fine. But if you look closely here, the grip for the choke cable is vertical, whereas on this one it's there, so it's horizontal. So you've got a different shaped bracket between there and there. The points of the throttle cable appear the same, so I think the cables are going to be fine. They look fundamentally identical, but again, if you look here, there's this little outlet here which comes out horizontally, whereas on this one it comes out at an incline. So they are not exactly the same. They are remarkably similar. Okay, I think they're interchangeable enough for me, so I'm going to try and fit the new one. And let's see what happens. Okay, that's all the cables connected, and before I put it all back in place, I'm just going to quickly operate choke and just make sure that's operating okay. And the throttle, difficult to see, but yeah, that seems to be operating good. Let's see if we can slide her back in. Okay, well, got everything reconnected. Well, everything essential at this point. The carbs on, the cables are connected, the airbox is connected. Put some fuel in. Okay, I can see it flowing down the fuel line. It's flowing down, but is it flowing out? Yes, it is. Damn. Yes, it is. Both carbs. Why are both carbs? That's just one carb now. Come on. That's just losing loads of fuel. Okay, so I have not yet resolved why the fuel is pouring out. But I'm just keen to find out. It doesn't do anything. Yes. Still running. Probably running on one. Before I die. Suicide wasn't the plan. Okay, but they're running. And it seemed as though the carb stopped dripping. Good. Okay, I'm going to call it quits there for this weekend. So it's running on this carb. Tick over needs adjusting and a few things. The leakage stopped, so once the engine ran, maybe a bit of vibration just dislodged the float, and it seemed to have stopped leaking fuel. So that's good. I've checked the exhausts, both are warm. So yeah, it's running on both cylinders. Fantastic. Right, okay, that'll do for now. Thank you very much everyone for your patience. A little bit of progress made again this week. So please like, subscribe to this channel, and otherwise, see you again soon. Bye for now.